Florida Home AC, the official AC partner of the Jaguars. Make them your AC partner. With honest cost estimates before they start the work with no hidden fees, call 777-4300 for Florida Home AC.
You don't have to be a football star to get a signing bonus. The team at Republic Services needs your skills, and they're paying up to $5,000 for you to join the roster. You'll be joining a winner. As an essential business, the Republic Services trucks have not stopped rolling with hourly and weekly pay and better benefits and vacation packages than the rest of the league. Driver trainees, $1,000 sign-on bonus. CDL drivers, $3,000. Diesel mechanics, $5,000 bonus. Join the winning team at Republic Services today. Visit republicservices.com.
Equal opportunity employer.
If golf is your thing, you might want to check out Hidden Hills Golf Club. At Hidden Hills, we simply love the game, and we take great care of our golfing friends. Check us out at hiddenhillsgc.com. You'll be glad you did.
Need protection? Call Craig and Christine Kaprosky at Goosehead Insurance. The Kaproskys are a husband-wife team committed to finding you the right coverage at the right price in just a few short minutes. For home, auto, flood, or specialty insurance, Craig and Christine Kaprosky are the answer. Craig.Kaprosky at Goosehead.com.
The coolers are full at your local Gate gas station, making it easy for you to cruise in and cruise out with little downtime. Ice-cold Coronas, Natty Light, Stella Artois, and Michelob Ultra. Don't forget the king of beers, Cold Buds. Gate's got them in the cooler, waiting for you.
This is your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update. I'm Andrew Gibson for 1010XL. This update brought to you by Andy's Automotive and Truck Service, LLC. Earlier today at SEC Media Days in Nashville, Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin, he had an eyebrow-raising comment about NIL.
This is a disaster coming because you just legalized cheating and you just told donors they can pay the players. That's what you did. And then, it's supposed to be set up well. It's really for your name, image, likeness, for your marketing. Again, that's not what happened. That's not what's happening. They're getting paid to go to school, so it's paid for play.
The comments of Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss head coach, earlier today at SEC Media Days in Nashville. It's 95 degrees at 5:54. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air Conditioning. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. The sports world keeps spinning, and the local conversation continues. Now, Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Thursday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, in for Rick Ballou, 1010XL 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. An early edition of Hacker After Dark. Rick Ballou enjoying a little vacation. He will be back on Monday as SEC Media Days wrapping up in Nashville. Certainly a terrific job by everybody up there representing the station. Frank Frangie, Hayes Carline, Lauren Brooks, Matt Hayes, Mia O'Brien, as that you heard from, well over half of the SEC head coaches, including interviews with Kirby Smart, Billy Napier, Sam Pittman, Mark Stoops, just to name a few. So a terrific job by our radio station up there. The ACC kickoff, Florida State fans, Miami fans, that's next week up in Charlotte. We will be up there as well. And, oh, by the way, the Jacksonville Jaguars have training camp next week. In fact, tomorrow, the rookies, the first-year players, I believe the quarterbacks, report. Everybody else on the roster reports on Tuesday, the 25th, and they are on the field for their first training camp practice in less than a week on Wednesday, July the 26th. So there is an absolute ton to do, a ton going on. We're glad you're spending part of your Thursday evening with us here on Hacker After Dark. Coming up tonight, Jaguar fans, a name that you will recognize, a name that you will remember, my friend Cecil Shorts, former wide receiver of the Jacksonville Jaguars, spent time in a couple other places as well, including Houston. Cecil Shorts is going to stop by the program in less than 20 minutes. We'll talk a little bit about the Houston Texans. We'll talk a little bit about the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we'll talk about the AFC South with Cecil Shorts. And Cecil Shorts was teammates with DeAndre Hopkins in Houston. So we'll certainly ask Cecil his thoughts about D-Hop returning to to the AFC South there with the Tennessee Titans. Cecil Shorts is a guy that you're going to hear a lot more on Hacker After Dark coming up this football season. We'll tell you about that at a later time, but he joins us tonight to talk AFC South. Also, Brad Spielberger, Pro Football Focus. You guys know that I love PFF.com. We'll talk to Brad Spielberger, one of the main guys at Pro Football Focus. He's coming up at the top of the 7 o'clock hour as we look at the Jaguars and around the rest of the AFC. Certainly some college football, Major League Baseball, a huge series gets underway tonight in St. Petersburg. Baltimore and Tampa currently tied for first place in the American League East. They begin a 4-game set here in about 45 minutes down at the Trop, so we will certainly spend a little time on that as well. But as we do every night, to kick it off here on Hacker After Dark, we do give you a big deal of the night and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal.
It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
So tonight wraps up our division previews. We started back on May 22nd in Buffalo with our guy Sal Capaccio, WGR Radio. And we have gone through every division, every NFL market. We will end tonight in Houston and Indianapolis. All 32 teams, all 32 media conglomerates in each of those cities, a representative of each over the last 2 months. And we end in the AFC South as we do every year leading up to Jaguar training camp. And look, I've talked to, dare I say, hundreds of guests. Denmark, you do this show every night. That's probably not off base, is it?
Yes, that's correct.
I've probably
Hundreds.
Hundreds of
I can
guys.
correct you.
Yeah. In the last 5 months or so this off season. And I have currently found one guy that is not picking the Jaguars to win the AFC South. And that's my man Emory Hunt, CBS Sports HQ, the owner of Football Game Plan. He joined us a couple of weeks ago. He's picking the Indianapolis Colts to win the AFC South. But everybody else is picking Jacksonville overwhelmingly. In fact, I've had a couple of national media guys say that they believe the Jaguars might have the division wrapped up by Thanksgiving. If not Thanksgiving, certainly a week or two after. So there is a lot of expectation on the Jaguars in the division. Let's look at the division quickly. Let's begin in Houston, right? What is expected of the Houston Texans this year as training camps begin opening up? Well, they got a brand new head coach in DeMeco Ryans, a brand new quarterback, right, in C.J. Stroud, the number 2 overall pick in the draft out of Ohio State. They also got Will Anderson. Don't forget that. They traded back up to number 3, so they drafted C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson. They signed a guy like Dalton Schultz in the offseason, so an established tight end. They brought in Robert Woods, an established veteran wide receiver. They got Nico Collins there still, Damian Pierce in the backfield. I think offensively, the Texans may be okay, depending on how quickly C.J. Stroud develops. The problem with Houston is going to be on the defense. Derek Stingley's a fine player, but they just don't have a lot of guys on defense. They're still, to me, a year or two away. Now, I believe DeMeco Ryans will have them play hard. I believe Houston is the type of team that you're going to have to battle for 4 quarters to win. But at the end of the day, I would be shocked if the Texans win more this year than 5 or 6 games, which, by the way, if they win 5 or 6 games, would obviously be an improvement off of where they have been. So I agree that Houston coming into the season is probably the last place team in the AFC South. That brings us to Indianapolis. Here's my thing with Indy. And we're going to talk with James Boyd. He's our guy up in Indianapolis of The Athletic later on in the 7 o'clock hour. Because predictions on Indianapolis are all over the place. And I do mean all over the place. I've had a guy on, like I said, Emory Hunt, that picks Indianapolis to win the division. I've had countless guys on that cover the league nationally that think Indy might be the worst team in the AFC. How can you have a divide like that? How can you have respected members of the National Football League media, some, a small amount, but some, believe Indy could win the AFC South, while others believe Indy could be the worst team in the AFC? That is a huge divide. Well, let's think about it. Anthony Richardson's up there, right? Do you realize, and I did not know this until somebody told me a couple of months ago, we know that Anthony Richardson did not play a whole lot at the University of Florida, right? 13 career starts. We've talked about that. He threw less than 400 passes as a Gator. Less than 400. But if you go back to his high school days, to Gainesville East Side, and you combine his years in high school with his years at the University of Florida, do you realize Anthony Richardson has thrown less than 900 passes in his football career, dating back to 9th grade? Less than 900 passes in high school and college combined. And now all of a sudden he's the number 4 overall pick, and he's likely to be the opening day starter for the Indianapolis Colts in the National Football League. The other option is Gardner Minshew. Wasn't that long ago that Minshew mania was running wild here in the city of Jacksonville. You know, the Jaguars, you fans are going to take special interest, I believe, I am, in the Indianapolis Colts training camp. That's why I'm going to listen to what James Boyd has to tell us coming up in the 7 o'clock hour. Because the Jaguars play Indianapolis twice in the first 6 weeks. Will it be Gardner Minshew or Anthony Richardson on opening day? Opening day, 52 days from today. The Jacksonville Jaguars travel to Indy, Sunday, September 10th. Will that be Gardner Minshew? Will that be Anthony Richardson? Now, the crazy thing about the Indianapolis Colts is you look on that roster, they got some dudes, man. Quentin Nelson, Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, the guy that beat Jacksonville last year. Remember him? The guy that got behind Shaq Griffin for the game-winning touchdown up there in Indy? That Matt Ryan to Alec Pierce connection. I believe that was the last play in the illustrious career of Shaq Griffin here in Jacksonville, who, by the way, didn't Shaq Griffin sign with the Houston Texans? I would target him every play when the Jaguars play Houston in Week 3. But I step aside. Indy's got some talent on defense. DeForest Buckner, Shaq Leonard, if healthy, there's still question there. They got talent. Do they have anything at quarterback? We'll see. So Houston and Indy, first-year head coaches, likely rookie quarterbacks. Definitely a rookie quarterback in Houston. I would say at this point, likely a rookie starting quarterback in Indianapolis. And then that brings you to Tennessee, right? All the talk in this offseason is Tennessee's rebuilding. They're getting rid of Taylor Lewan. They're getting rid of Ben Jones, Bud Dupree, Zach Cunningham, Robert Woods. They lost, Nate Davis, David Long, DeMarcus Walker in free agency. They lost a lot of guys, right? To their credit, they did bring in some intriguing players. Arden Key, obviously. I remember the night I was on when Arden Key signed with Tennessee. Jaguar fans, that was a shot to the solar plexus for you. And then, of course, we found out Arden Key thought that he helped build the city of Jacksonville. It was Arden Key's experience and tutelage that got this city to where it is, according to him, at his introductory Jaguar press conference. Then everybody here turned on Arden Key pretty quickly. But Tennessee, there's no doubt they are better with DeAndre Hopkins. Now, I said earlier this week, DeAndre Hopkins did not move the needle for me as far as Tennessee taking the South from Jacksonville. I still believe this is the Jaguars' division. Nothing I've seen, no move I've seen made has made me think otherwise. But you would be kidding yourself if you don't think that a healthy DeAndre Hopkins makes the Titans better. How much better is relative, but it certainly makes them better. You know why I know that? Denmark, I'm not sure if you saw this or not. Prior to the Titans signing DeAndre Hopkins, career touchdown receptions for Tennessee prior to Hopkins getting there for the 2023 roster, Who led the Titans in career touchdown catches prior to signing DeAndre Hopkins?
Last year?
For their career.
Jeez,
For
I
their
ain't got
career.
a clue.
Well, he doesn't play on the roster because he's their head coach. Mike Vrabel led the Titans in touchdown receptions for his career. I'll remind you, Mike Vrabel played linebacker in the NFL. Vrabel caught 12 touchdowns in his career. The next Tennessee Titan wide receiver was at 10 prior to DeAndre Hopkins arriving. So obviously Hopkins makes them better. How much better? Again, that's relative. I don't think it's astronomical, but I certainly think it's an improvement. You still have Derrick Henry. And the one thing, and look, I love the back and forth from Titan fan and Jaguar fan on social media. That rivalry is alive and well in the AFC South, which is nice because there were a couple of years there where it was very dormant, and that was the Jaguars' fault. When Jacksonville's terrible and can't beat anybody, it's hard to have a rivalry. But certainly now Jacksonville is holding their end of the bargain again, so that game has become a much bigger deal. I love the back and forth, though, but the Titan fans are leaning on one thing, and what they're saying has validity to it. Their JV team, which essentially is what that team was in Week 18, they had a starting quarterback that was there 12 days before that game was played, in Josh Dobbs. The Titans' JV team was beating Jacksonville with 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Before Rayshon Jenkins made that play, Josh Allen picked up the ball and ran for a touchdown. How different the offseason would feel and how different the expectation for Jacksonville coming into the year would feel if the JV Tennessee Titan team in Week 18 last year, led by Josh Dobbs, who was there for all of 12 days, would have beat Jacksonville, knocking the Jaguars out. Obviously, that Charger comeback would have never happened. Playing the Chiefs tough in the divisional round would have never happened. That was only 3 minutes away from being reality. So the Titan fan is right in that regard. But I still say they lost too much. I still say they're too young. They have serious problems on the offensive line. I'm not a believer in Ryan Tannehill, although Ryan Tannehill is certainly better than Josh Dobbs. And again, Josh Dobbs had the Titans in front with 3 minutes to go here in Jacksonville on Week 18. And then you come to Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence, Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, ETN. We know about how explosive the offense is going to be. I've said this the entire offseason, and I'll stand by it. When the Jaguars walked off that field at Arrowhead last year, January 21st, after losing the AFC divisional playoff, 21 of the 22 guys that started that game are back in a Jaguar uniform. 21 out of 22. The only one that's gone is Jawan Taylor. Arden Key did not start. Chris Manhertz did not start. Marvin Jones did not start. And you've added Calvin Ridley. You've added a rookie class with Anton Harrison, Brenton Strange, Tank Bigsby. You've added Ben Barch back. You've added Cam Robinson after a 4-week suspension. He will be back. So on paper alone, the Jaguars are better now than when they were when they left the field January 21st in Arrowhead after losing to the Kansas City Chiefs. Combine that with the Texans, rookie head coach, rookie quarterback. The Colts, rookie head coach, presumably a rookie quarterback. And Tennessee, who again, prior to last week, Mike Vrabel was their career leader in touchdown receptions, and he was a linebacker in the NFL. So I don't know if Jacksonville is one of the big boys in the AFC. I don't know if I would put them with Kansas City or Cincinnati. Maybe I'd put them with Buffalo. I think the conversation really begins with Jacksonville in regards to Baltimore, Miami, the Jets, the Chargers. But clearly, in the AFC South, something would have to go wrong, right? And I'm not going to be the guy that wishes anything to go wrong. So heaven forbid I say anything about, I don't know, injuries. But something would have to go wrong for the Jaguars to not win this division. For the life of me, I cannot imagine a rookie quarterback in either Indy or Houston winning enough games, and I can't imagine a Tennessee offense scoring enough points to win enough games. So Jacksonville, very simply, it is AFC South championship or failure this year. It's what it is. Now, once you get into the playoffs, that's a different conversation, one that we'll have later on. AFC South championship or the year's a failure. Do you agree? 641-1010 on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Speaking of the AFC South, let's talk to a man that knows all about it. He played for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He played for the Houston Texans. You're going to hear him a lot more on Hacker After Dark once the regular season begins. That's my friend Cecil Shorts, former wide receiver for both the Texans and the Jaguars. Let's talk Houston. Let's talk Jacksonville. Let's talk about his former teammate, DeAndre Hopkins. My man Cecil Shorts, next on Hacker After Dark.
All right, everybody up. Come on, hands in. Yeah. Come on, everybody. Let's go out and kick some butt.
Here we go. On 3.
92.5 FM.
Baloo here for Smunez Vision. Why Smunez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smunez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smunez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smunez is fellowship trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmunezVision.com today. Here you can see.
Summer is here. Be ready for anything on the road or off-road at Nimnick Buick GMC. Popular GMC and Buick models are arriving daily. No one will ever pay over MSRP at Nimnick Buick GMC. Frank Frangie here. Stop by their showroom on Phillips Highway just south of I-295 or shop online at NimnickBuickGMC.com and see why Nimnick Buick GMC is Jacksonville's #1 Buick GMC dealer. Nimnick, your friends in the car business since 1941. GMC, we are professional grade.
Join the Transportation Club of Jacksonville for a great cause at the CSP 23 Charity Golf Tournament. Hosted by local professional A.J. Crouch, it benefits the Monique Burr Foundation for Children. Register at tcjacks.com. Live scoring by Leaderboard King.
After my surgery, my knee was back in shape after only a few months. I trusted Southeast Orthopedic Specialists with my daughter's back surgery as well. Both of us are great, and we're doing exactly what we love to do. This is David Lane, and I seriously recommend Southeast Orthopedic Specialists for any orthopedic issue.
This is Dr. Kevin Murphy. Our team at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists is ready to help you too. We'd like to thank the coaches and schools who trust in our team at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
It's one of golf's majors for a reason.
This control has been
the Open Championship.
Impeccable today.
Open Championship coverage is brought to you by
MyBookie and Mr. Sparky of the First Coast. Follow the leaders on 1010XL.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation. Light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
Children under 5 die from drowning in Florida more than any other state. Together, we can reduce the risk of drowning. The YMCA has programs accessible to families that teach essential water safety skills. Face the water with confidence. Learn more at watersafetyflorida.org.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can now do it in less than a week. Hey, it's Prosser here, and that's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, or even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. And you don't even have to touch your primary mortgage, so you can keep that 3% rate intact. Just get the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 904-999-1508. LoanPronto.com or 904-999-1508. That's 904-999-1508. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Want great drinks at a great location without paying outrageous prices? Players Grill has you covered. Monday through Friday, happy hour from 3 to 5 p.m. $15 bottomless mimosas on the weekend. Players Grill Miramar, where the neighborhood meets.
I'm Dr. Mitchell Yass, the most unknown world-renowned expert on pain elimination. That's right, elimination. If you've tried medications, injections, physical therapy, chiropractic, even surgery, and still experience pain, then say yes to Yass. I have successfully used the Yass method for over 30 years to help thousands reclaim their lives. To learn more, call me at 904-906-YASS. Let's end your pain and say yes to Yass.
This is Hayes Carline for Kingfish Pest Control. Look, warmer weather now means mosquito, flea, and tick season is here. These pests are out for blood, but you don't have to let them win. Protect your home and family with Kingfish Pest Control. As a Kingfish customer myself, I know their products are safe for kids and pets. Plus, with a 100% satisfaction guarantee, you can relax knowing your yard is pest-free. Call today, mention the Jags to receive 10% off your initial service. That's Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative. What's better than beer? Cold beer. Put your company logo on a custom koozie. Check them out at hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all. 1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Training camps opening up all over the National Football League. In fact, the New York Jets, the first full team that's already in. The Jaguar rookies report on Friday. The veterans come in next Tuesday, and they are on the field for their first practice on Wednesday, July 26th. We've taken a tour of the AFC South this week. We've talked to Tennessee. We've talked to Indianapolis. Right now, let's talk a little Jacksonville and a little Houston with a guy that played for both. Cecil Shorts, former Jaguar and a former Texan wide receiver. He's one of our guys here on 1010XL, and he's always kind enough to join us in the city of Jacksonville. Cecil, how you doing?
Ryan, I'm well, man. I'm well, staying busy, excited for training camps. This is an exciting time of year for everybody, I'm sure.
Cecil, from a former player perspective, man, you're about a week out, a little inside a week before camp opens up. What's going through your mind as a player?
Around this time, like you said, a week out, you kind of wind down your workouts a little bit. Now it's more about tuning. For a receiver, you do more route running than lifting and stuff like that, making sure you're ready for your conditioning test coming up. But this is exciting, man. This is the time you get to compete, a good time you get to earn your spot. It's a good time that you got OTAs and mini camps and stuff like that, but this is like the real time training camp where you earn your spot and you see how good of a team you really can be. You know what I mean? You build that chemistry throughout the summer, again, through OTAs and mini camp, but training camp is the grind. Training camp is something I'll always look forward to because I get to compete. I get to show how good I am, show I deserve to be on the team. And then now it's like the real season, right? So if you go from training camp to preseason to the real season, it's a nonstop process now, whereas mini camp and OTAs is kind of get a break in between. So it's the real thing, and it's a lot of fun.
Former Jaguar wide receiver Cecil Shorts here with us on 1010XL. Cecil, I want to get into the Jaguars in a moment. Before we get there, let's talk about another team that you're very familiar with, the Houston Texans. Boy, you know, on paper, it looks like the arrow is pointing up, right? C.J. Stroud in the fold, Will Anderson in the fold, D'Amico Ryans, the brand new head coach out there. Cecil, I don't know if they can compete necessarily this year, but there's no doubt it looks like they bottomed out, and now they're starting to climb their way back up.
it's a certain excitement here in Houston that they haven't had in a long time. To go and get C.J. Stroud, your quarterback, which everybody knows a quarterback is probably the most important position in sports, right? To have your guy C.J., and they love C.J. He's been extremely, even early on, extremely good with his leadership in the huddle and his leadership in the locker room. We're kind of surprising people. You got Laramie Tunsil, all-pro guy, one of the best left tackles in the league, putting stuff on Instagram and going out his way and saying that is my quarterback one. That is QB1 for us. When you got guys like that saying it, that's a big deal. Then you bring in a guy, you bring in your edge rusher from Alabama, who from day one has been working his behind off. And he's known to be a workhorse. But they have to slow him down at practice. Like, hey, okay, let's relax right now. That's the type of stuff you want to see from your rookies. That's the type of energy, the type of communication you want to see from your rookies. So they're doing a good job of bringing some excitement to the city. But now it's about, can these guys perform? There's going to be a lot of eyes on the number 1 or number 2 pick and number 3 pick. They're not going to just be can they just be decent? These guys have to hit on these guys. You have to hit on Will Anderson. He has to have, in my opinion, a really good rookie year. You have to hit on C.J. Stroud. He has to, in my opinion, be a guy that can start from day one. So he's out there. We are seeing Davis Mills. You bring in a veteran like Case Keenum to back up and tutor C.J. Stroud. So now it's about how much can he handle. And I think the offense is in a position where you're surrounding your quarterback with weapons. So you got a defensive offense, you got a decent offensive line, and you're building there. You added some stuff that you had some people in the draft. As far as offensive line, Juice Shrugs from Penn State is a guard. You brought in Shaq Mason, another guard. You still got Tunsil, as I mentioned. You still have your other right tackle. I can't think of his name right now. But he is surrounded with a decent offensive line. You have Dameon Pierce, one of the better backs in the league last year, over 1,000 yards production, an overall yardage. So when you have something like that, it makes it easier on your quarterback. It makes it easier on your rookie, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the Texans brought in a couple of veterans as well, Devin Singletary, Dalton Schultz. So it looks like on paper, certainly a much better roster than it was last year. So I'm sure you've crossed paths with D'Amico Ryans. I'm sure you know him. That's a cool story, right? A guy that starred as a Texan linebacker, goes off, becomes a very established defensive coordinator, now comes back to Houston as the head coach. I'm sure there's a lot of pride there for D'Amico Ryans with that organization. And on paper, that looked like the perfect marriage.
He was one of the hottest commodities out there, man. So anytime you can bring that type of energy here, it's exciting. You know what I mean? We can bring that to your organization. It's exciting. Him being a former player, him being still a younger guy, can relate to the guys, has a high energy on the field. As a former player, you kind of have that inside track where how to communicate with players. How can you relate to players? What works well for them? And he's already making an impact in that locker room. So it should be a fun time seeing the young Texans grow into a contender.
Couple of more for former Jaguar Cecil Shorts. Cecil, final Texan-related question. Can they compete this year, or are they still a year or two away?
I think they're still a year or two away. I think they'll be improved from last year. A lot of games they were in early or in the first half, and they kind of their young experience let them, or just not being that good, they got away from the second half. I think they'll be in a lot of games, have a chance to win this year, but I still think they're a year or two away from being a true contender for the AFC South title and then the contender for the Super Bowl. They still need some time to grow and get these young guys going.
Now to Jacksonville, and that's where people know Cecil Shorts from, at least in our market here in Northeast Florida. All right, so I talked to Leon Searcy a lot. I've talked to a lot of former Jaguars this offseason. Normally, when you're a former Jaguar, you got to put up with a lot of grief from your peers, right?
Right.
Guys around the league, the Jaguars are awful, this, that, and the other. Boy, not last year. I know you and I talked a lot during the playoffs. Now that you've had an offseason to look back and look ahead, boy, high times for the Jaguars, Cecil. As a former Jag, you must be pretty happy the direction of this franchise.
Man, listen, it's a long time coming, but it seems like the Jags are here, not just here, but here to stay. They did a good job in the draft, in my opinion. But when you exceed expectations last year as a first-time head coach, but first-year head coach with the Jacksonville with Doug Peterson, and what he was able to do that second half of the year, get these guys rolling. It seems like then you add some pieces in the draft, and you add Calvin Ridley, and you go address your tackle situation. You bring in Tank Bigsby. It just seems like now the expectation, if I'm honest, I'm going to be honest, I expect them to win the South. I think they're the favorite to win the South. I think it shouldn't be no doubt that they're the favorite and should win the South. Now, are they Super Bowl contenders? Like, can they compete with the Kansas City Chiefs? That's yet to be seen. But I do expect them to be a playoff team. I do expect them to be solid this year. And I expect good things for the future. It is a great time to be a former player for the Jaguars, for sure.
You know, we always joke around with the quarterbacks you had here in Jacksonville. You know, all due respect to them, but maybe it left a little bit to be desired. Now all of a sudden Trevor Lawrence is here. And I want to get to the skill players in a moment. That's certainly your specialty as a former wide receiver. But see, so when you look at Trevor Lawrence, what do you see?
I see confidence. I see a young guy that can be a top 5 quarterback by the end of this season. I think he is a guy that showed abilities to be accurate, make good decisions. Only 8 interceptions last year. I believe it was 25 touchdowns. He is a kid that is never out of the game. Just look at the playoff game. He's somebody that when you can rally a team, right? And when you get in the huddle and your offensive line and your receivers and your running backs, they believe in you. The team believes in you and trusts in you to get the job done. That's saying a lot. And I think last year was a huge confidence booster for him. It's no throw he can't make. There's nothing he can't do. It's about him continuing to build that confidence, him continue to learn how to be a pro. And I think he's ascending. And I think by the end of this year, he's going to be in the conversations of the top 5, top 8, top 10 quarterbacks this year because he has that potential to do that. So he's special, in my opinion. He's number one overall for a reason, and he's showing it and getting better each and every week, in each and every game.
You know, see, so we'll get to Calvin Ridley in a moment. 12 months ago, I have buddies up in New York that are Giants fans. They were laughing at me when the Jaguars signed Evan Ingram, right? I go out to Las Vegas before the draft last year, and guys were like, you gave Zay Jones how much money? And then we all know Christian Kirk's contract got annihilated nationally. Fast forward to where we are now in regards to Ingram, Jones, and Kirk. Nobody's laughing, right? I mean, how did those 3 guys all have career years, and now all of a sudden you add Ridley to that? And Cecil, this might be one of the best offenses in the NFL.
It's going to be one of the most explosive offenses. It's going to be Travis Etienne had over 1,000 yards rushing. Like, so it's not just, in the passing game, you got, if I'm not mistaken, Zay Jones and Christian Kirk had over 80 catches. And then Evan Ingram, who they just recently signed, had about 75, 78, somewhere in there. Doug Peterson does a great job understanding how to spread the ball around. And then Trevor, it goes back to Trevor. He's finding the open guy. He's finding the open receiver, regardless of who it is. If you look at it, it's 83 catches, 82 catches, 78 catches. He's spreading the ball around. He's doing a great job. So people were laughing all they want last year. Now, guess what? These boys are producing. These boys are productive. And then you added Calvin Ridley, who people may have forgotten because he's been out of the league since 2021, I believe, where he wasn't injured but stepped away from the game a little bit and was suspended for last season. He is one of the better route runners in the whole entire NFL. Like, he was a productive receiver, 2 800-yard receiving seasons, and then a 1,300-yard receiver season in his 3rd year. 28-plus touchdowns in his 4 years. Like, he is somebody that is going to be a playmaker. Like, he is a threat. He was the number 1 receiver in Atlanta. That's what he was. So now you got him for a bargain. And he's coming off a year, and he'll be, to me, rust is different from a quarterback standpoint, like what Deshaun Watson went through, missing all that time, than a receiver standpoint, right? He'll have a little bit of rust, but he's still catching and running and getting open. He'll adjust quickly. But when you add somebody explosive like that, a route runner like that, another playmaker like that, what are you going to do? As a defense, how are you going to defend a Christian Kirk, a Zay Jones in the slot, the Ingram in the slot, a Calvin Ridley outside, on top of hand the ball off, and then you got Speedy Travis in there in between tackles and hitting outside. Then you add Tank Bigsby, who, in my opinion, is going to be a huge addition in the goal line and short yardage situations where kind of Travis maybe struggled or not. That's not his strong suit. Now you had a big old back who had over 900 yards last year in college, and his 700 of his yards came after initial contact. Like, you're talking about an offense that can be exceptional. And again, Trevor is still learning. Trevor is still growing. So now you add in more pieces. This could be scary.
Final moments here with former Jaguar wide receiver Cecil Shorts. I completely agree with you. They might not have the Justin Jefferson or the Tyreek Hill, but what they have is 5 guys that could kill you any given Sunday. So it's going to be a D coordinator's worst nightmare because you can't game plan to take one guy away when you got 5 guys that could beat you any given Sunday. You mentioned Ridley. You're the guy to ask because you played a lot of games in the NFL as a wide receiver. He has not played since October of 2021. What do you expect from him early in the year as far as conditioning, getting back into it?
I think training camp would be big for him. I think preseason would be big for him. And I'm not sure what Doug Peterson's mindset is with preseason. But training camp, wearing the pads as far as conditioning, playing with a helmet on, going against full speed, a defense will be enough conditioning for him, right? The first couple games, it'll be an adjustment, but he's going to be fine. Again, a receiver adjusting to time off is a little different than a quarterback or another position, right? I think that's one of the positions he'll be able to quickly pick up where he left off. It'll be an adjustment for a game or two, just get back in the swing of things. But one thing, you can always work your releases. Training camp's going to be huge for him, and I'm interested. In my opinion, I will play him a little bit more than I probably would usually him in preseason just to get him reps. He hasn't played since, like you said, October 2021. Get the reps in. We know what you can do, but get the reps against a live competition, against a live game, because his emotions are going to be going. So for him, it's going to be more of a mental thing than anything. He can play ball. That's not an issue. It's going to be mentally, can he just adjust and be fine? Like, okay, I've done this before. I'm a veteran. I'm 28, 29 years old. I know what I'm doing. Let's get back into it. And he'll be fine. But he is somebody that's going to be so dynamic. Like, if Jaguar fans just watch his route running, if you can't tell, I'm a huge fan of route running. If you just watch his route running, he is going to be open and open and open and open and can make the tough catch. And that's going to open up everybody else. Like, so for me, I mean, you just hit on it. I don't know what a defense coordinator is going to do. Like, you really can't double anybody. You can't focus on anybody. You got to stay true. And when you stay true, guess what? Now Trevor can just read the field, find an open guy, and hit him. So this is exciting.
So as we say goodbye, quick thought from you, DeAndre Hopkins. Back in the division, You obviously know him from his time in Houston, now back with the Tennessee Titans. He is 31 years old. He is coming off a couple of years where he had some injury issues. Maybe he's not 25 anymore, certainly, but does he have anything left? Did that move the needle for you at all regarding Tennessee when they signed Hopkins?
You know what? I have mixed emotions. So number one, let me say this. Hop is still one of the premier receivers in the NFL. Last year, he had 700 and some yards in only 9 games. The first half of the year, he was suspended. But to have that, and just watching him play, he still got it. There's no slowing down in him. And he's the type of guy, he reminds me of Larry Fitzgerald. Never was a speedster, but always was able to catch the ball and get open and be physical. And guys like that can last long in the NFL. So he still has a lot of juice in the tank. Secondly, I feel indifferent about him and just being honest, him being a former teammate and a friend of mine, him going to Tennessee, I'm like, there's no real quarterback there. Like, we don't know if Tannehill's going to be the starter, if Malik Willis, if it's going to be Will Levis. Like, what is going on there? We know you're going to run the football. You're going to hand the ball off. So, on paper, to have him, to have Derrick Henry, to have Treylon Burks, former rookie last year from Arkansas, I think it looks good. But who's going to throw on the ball? And are they a real threat to win that? To me, to win the AFC South? No. Are they a real threat for a Super Bowl contender with Hop? No. Just because of the quarterback situation. It's all about QB. So I'm happy for him. I'm glad he got his money. I was just hoping he would go somewhere to close to get a ring. Now, I don't think it moves the needle that much for Tennessee. I think Tennessee would be, honestly, I think they're on the other side of the hill going down rather than ascending up like Jacksonville.
He's one of our guys here on 1010XL, former Jaguar wide receiver Cecil Shorts. And if I were a betting man, I'd say you might be hearing Cecil a little bit more in the regular season here, evenings with us on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Cecil, appreciate the time, man. We'll talk again soon.
Yes, sir. Anytime, man. Anytime.
There you go. Cecil Shorts here with us on Hacker After Dark. Always appreciate the conversation with the former Jaguar wide receiver. I got to tell you, man, you talk about the best receivers in Jaguar history, and certainly, you'd go about 7, 8, 9 deep. You get about to number 10 or so. Cecil Shorts probably deserves to be in the conversation, top 10, maybe just on the outskirts of the top 10. And you consider the quarterbacks that guy had here in Jacksonville, it's nauseating. Just nauseating, the guys that he had to play with. Imagine if Cecil during his day had Trevor Lawrence. Good heavens. He was pretty decent here with Blaine Gabbert and all the other nonsense he had to deal with here. So appreciate him joining us. We'll have Cecil on more as the NFL regular season approaches. More on the National Football League, more on the Jacksonville Jaguars coming up in about 20 minutes or so. Brad Spielberger, one of our guys from Pro Football Focus, PFF.com. We'll talk Jaguars, AFC, and look at the NFL at large with Brad. In the 7 o'clock hour, we'll head to Indianapolis. My man James Boyd covers the Colts for The Athletic as we make our final stop on our division tour. Indianapolis will be the 32nd team we have covered leading up to training camp, which, by the way, some Jaguars begin reporting tomorrow. Rookies, first-year players, quarterbacks are in tomorrow, and practice begins for the Jaguars next Wednesday, July 26th. It's Hacker After Dark in for Baloo on a Thursday night with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Coming up, we'll talk SEC Media Days. We'll hear comments from Josh Heupel of Tennessee, Kirby Smart of Georgia, Billy Napier of Florida. I got a thought or two about the SEC East, and I also have a thought. There was a movie that came out called Cocaine Bear, right? Apparently now, have you seen this? We have cocaine sharks. That's next on Hacker After Dark.
What's the deal with the show? The 1010XL Podcast Network is now available just about everywhere you find podcasts.
I think the show's going to be a huge hit.
Search for your favorite 1010XL podcast in your platform of choice.
Boating is in your blood. You live for your time on the water and can't wait for your next adventure. At Batteries Plus, we have solutions to help power what moves you. Whether it's a deep cycle battery for your trolling motor or an onboard charger to make the day last a little longer, you'll find it at Batteries Plus. Shop boating essentials at your nearest Batteries Plus or visit us online at batteriesplus.com.
Are you tired of having a plain and boring backyard? Really want to impress your family and friends this year? Then stop by Stone Core on Phillips Highway. Imagine hosting guests at your new outdoor kitchen, relaxing by your custom-built fireplace under a brand new pergola. Stone Core can also remodel your old pool deck and beautiful new pavers. Make your backyard wishes a reality. Visit Stone Core on Phillips Highway and let's get started at stonecore.co. We do outdoors better.
Run to the Jacksonville Sharks for their fight against West Texas this Saturday, July 22nd, 7 o'clock, Bi-Star Arena. With tickets as low as $15, you can't find this kind of affordable fun just anywhere. It's Military Appreciation Night. Stay postgame for the auction and win a Military Sharks jersey. All veterans and their families. Buy one ticket, get one free. Shark Tank this Saturday, July 22nd, 7 o'clock at the Bi-Star Veterans Memorial Arena. Call 904-621-0700 or visit jacksharks.com. And veterans, BOGO tickets. Fins up.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville. And let me get this right, Greg. Cycles is selling boats?
We are carrying the Coach Pontoon boats, which comes with a legendary Honda engines, and these things are first class.
So Honda outboard engines, if you have one, this is where you can go and get it repaired. And then you also have these pontoon boats.
In stock, ready to have some fun on the water, and they are big fun.
So it's not just Cycles of Jacksonville. They are an authorized boat dealer. Come check out the coolest new concept in pontoons. Cycles of Jacksonville on Atlantic near Regency.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On July 20th, 1986, British Open men's golf, Greg Norman wins his first major championship at even par, 5 strokes clear of Gordon J. Brand.
Good people drink good beer.
And great people drink Mokama, a refined craft brewery out of Fernandina Beach, Florida. Mokama Beer Company brings sophisticated flagship beers, including Cosmico IPA and Dune Garden Lager, to the greater Jacksonville area. Whether you're hitting the water with friends or enjoying a backyard barbecue, Mokama has the perfect beer for your summer activities. Look for us wherever great beers are sold and find your Mokama.
The following people are under the influence of no air conditioning.
Oh, man.
Is it ever hot? I can't get up. My legs are stuck to the chair.
Can guys go through menopause?
Why?
I think I'm having a hot flash.
Don't let no AC happen to you. Call Duck Duck Air Conditioning, available 24 hours a day, and they'll fix it right the first time. When your AC system needs a repair, it's time to call Duck Duck Air, 904-862-6769, or online at duckduckac.com. Duck Duck Air Conditioning, a division of Duck Duck Rooter.
Calling all poker players. The summer is upon us and the excitement is heating up at Best Bet. Keep cool with our Christmas in July promotion and experience world-class poker, delicious food and drinks, and fun card games. Best Bet offers something for everyone, from tournaments to table games and daily high-hand promotions. Visit one of our locations in Jacksonville or Orange Park. Visit bestbetjacks.com for complete schedule. That's bestbetjacks.com.
Get the family feast for two every Friday night at Woody's, just $29.99. A $7 savings. Start your weekend off right on Friday night at your neighborhood Woody's Barbecue.
At Woody's Barbecue, it's what we do. Let's eat.
Find your why in your next career move at the First Coast YMCA. Everyone can get involved and make a difference in your community at the Y. And if you'd like to turn your passion into a fulfilling career, the Y is an equal opportunity employer and is now hiring youth program leaders, lifeguards, swim instructors, and more. Plus, Y staff enjoy benefits including free YMCA membership and free childcare while you work. Find your passion, find your why in a career at fcymca.org.
Mystic Cornhole Company is on the move. The store where excitement meets excellence is relocating this month to the corner of Hogan and Parental Home Road. And you can always find them online at mysticcornhole.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
15 minutes before the 7 o'clock hour. Hacker After Dark in for Baloo tonight. 1010XL. 92.5 FM, little Southeastern Conference talk. I want to talk about the SEC East coming up in just one moment. Before I do that, Denmark, did you see that movie Cocaine Bear earlier this year?
I did not watch it.
I didn't either. I heard about it. I heard it was about what you would expect. Some of my friends actually enjoyed it. I have not seen it. I'm sure it's a terrific piece of American cinema. But this story, you know, when you're scrolling online and you happen to come across the headline, cocaine sharks may be feasting on bales of drugs off Florida coast, you know, that tends to get a mouse click or two. You might want to read some of that. So basically, Cocaine Sharks is an episode that's going to air on Shark Week. Is Shark Week still as popular now as it was 10 years ago?
No,
Yeah, I didn't think it was
absolutely
either.
not.
There was a time, like a decade ago, where Shark Week was it, man. I mean, that was the thing. But I think that time is come and gone. But nevertheless, this is a story on Fox News. Thousands of sharks off Florida's coast may have ingested bales of cocaine left in the water by drug smugglers attempting to get their product into the United States. Marine biologist Tom Hurd, who is, he wanted to examine whether the sharks have come into contact with the drug, which is the subject of a documentary that will premiere on Discovery Channel's Shark Week called Cocaine Sharks. The theory is being brought about because of several shark attacks in the Atlantic, including several off the Florida coast in the last few months. I've lived in Jacksonville, Florida since 1995. When I was 11 years old. So I've been here 28 out of my 39 years. And I love the beach. I used to live at the beach, Denmark, like you now. Back in the day, I used to run and rip in Jacksonville Beach. Man, I would get after it. I think I was on a first-name basis with most of the bartenders and the bouncers in the Jacksonville Beach area during my college years. Having said that, I've never been one to go into the water in the beach because it is my philosophy, Denmark, that you can immediately put in my obituary, I was not eaten by a shark if I never go in the water. Perhaps I've seen Jaws too many times. And it's also my belief that when you go into the water in the ocean, you become part of the food chain. And to me, I like to be at the top of the food chain, not at the bottom of the food chain, which is where you are when you go into the ocean. Now, Denmark, you are a Florida guy. You're a West Side guy, but you certainly love the beach. Are you a guy that is cool with getting in the ocean if there are cocaine sharks out there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot worse than cocaine that goes into the sharks. I don't know what, but I mean,
you think there's worse things than cocaine that go into sharks?
All the waste that's in the ocean. I don't know.
Well, their logic on this story is that cocaine is making the sharks nuts and attacking people.
Yeah,
that's the point of it. Yeah, I've just never been one to. I mean, freshwater, I'm all in, man. You put me in a public swimming pool area, which might be as dangerous as a beach, except there are no sharks in a public swimming pool, just other things. But I love that. But the idea that there are sharks ingesting cocaine that are swimming around the Florida coast, that's another reason. Reason number 97 for me not to have very much desire to ever go into the water. I enjoy the beach life. I enjoy going to the sand, laying out, doing all that. The scenery out there is quite lovely from time to time, certainly. But as far as going in the water, that is certainly not my thing.
Now, are you one of those, if you had to pick one, would you not go in a lake because of alligators or not go in the beach because of sharks? I don't know why I feel I'm more scared of alligators and lakes.
Yeah, alligators and snakes, yeah. See, you know what's funny? As I get older, and Matt Hayes, I got to give Matt Hayes credit for this, and he did a terrific job at SEC Media Days up there with Frangie and Carline, Brooks, and O'Brien, our contingent up there. But to Matt's credit, he told me something a couple of years ago that as I get older, I appreciate more and more. It's a sports term. It's survive and advance. And you take that outside the sports term and use that in everyday life, right? If at the end of the day you can survive and advance to the next day, well, that's a good day, right? It could be a lot worse if you don't survive and you don't advance. So, yeah, the idea of swimming in rivers or lakes where there are potentially creatures there, same thing in the ocean, just not really my cup of tea. But, hey, to each his own. I know the beach is very, very popular. Like I said, I love the beach life. Bars, restaurants, go out there, get a tan, absolutely. Football, frisbee, volleyball, you name it. It's just when the water comes into the equation is where, personally, I draw a line. A lot of college football fans are going to have to draw a line with what they've known for the last 30 years. Divisions in the SEC are going away next year. This is the last year of the SEC East as we know it, the last year of the SEC West as we know it. With that, let's hear some comments from Josh Heupel, Kirby Smart, and Billy Napier. We'll begin with Josh Heupel. My entire life, well, dating back to when I remember what was going on, 1990 and forward, Florida has played Tennessee. Now, in the 90s, it was the best rivalry in football, with Peyton Manning and with Danny Werfel, the heartbreak of 2001 when Travis Stevens just ran all over the Gators, costing them a national championship. The rivalry has waned in recent years, there's no question about it, but you knew every year you were getting Florida, Tennessee. That is no longer the case beginning next year. Josh Heupel was asked specifically about losing the Florida-Tennessee game, but he expanded onto losing divisions in the SEC.
One of the great things about college football is the history, the traditions of those games, of those matchups, and some of those games, you knew exactly when it was going to fall on the calendar, and it is one of the great things about the game. The game, in some ways, is continuing to evolve, though, too, and I love traditional rivalries, man. You know, in some games you got, trophy games, and I'm talking about as a player, and I don't know, those are special games, special moments, and I don't want to lose. I feel like at some point you're going to lose some You don't want to lose too many of them, and hopefully a lot of those things survive.
Yeah, it'll be a shame when Florida-Tennessee comes off the schedule. They'll still play, right? I think they're guaranteed to play once every couple of years, but it will not be an every-year thing anymore, it would appear. So, yeah, that will be something different, something that I've really never experienced since I was old enough to realize what was going on with the Florida Gators back to around 1990 or so. Kirby Smart also was with 1010XL earlier this week. All of these comments are from the 1010XL crew that was up in Nashville, interviews with Heupel, with Smart, and with Billy Napier. You know, Kirby Smart coming into another year at Georgia, back-to-back national championships. And it's all about complacency, right? Can they avoid complacency? Can they be focused on the task at hand? When you look at that Georgia schedule, and we did it earlier this week, Denmark and I could not find a game other than maybe the Tennessee game where Georgia will not be at minimum a 17-point favorite. They are going to be an overwhelming favorite in every game they play this year. Will complacency set in? Kirby was asked about that earlier this week.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's we don't sell it as the top of the mountain or the goal at the top of the mountain. We sell it as the next achievement, the next hurdle. And most kids in athletics embrace like what the challenge is, right? So you put a challenge in front of them, they rise to meet it. So the next challenge is this season. Who are we? What's our identity? Who are we going to be? Like last year's team had this great identity of fourth quarter, we're going to kick your ass. And it happened in the Missouri game, and it happened in the Ohio State game, and they were able to come back and rise to the occasion. I don't know that identity on this team, and I think we got to find that out.
You know, I don't know if it's a shame or what verbiage it is, but 10-2 or even 11-1 this year is going to be a disappointment for Georgia. I mean, if they are not in the SEC championship game, and probably if they are not in the college football playoff, will it be a failure of a season? I think it might be. I think it might be a failure if Georgia is not in the college football playoff. That's the expectation with the Georgia Bulldogs heading into this year. Now, they've earned that, right, with back-to-back national championships, but that's a lot of pressure to put on a coaching staff, on a group of players, to know that 9, 10, even 11 wins won't be considered good enough. You got to get to the playoff. And even if you lose in round one of the playoff, is that going to be considered good enough? It's lofty expectations for the Dogs. Finally, Billy Napier on 1010XL earlier this week with Frank Frangie and Matt Hayes. Year 2 for Billy Napier in Gainesville, coming off a 6-7 campaign in year number 1. Napier was asked about the culture on his football team heading into 2023.
Ultimately, for me, we have completely rebuilt the player experience, and I think that we've hired really well. Yeah. I think that's an extremely important part of what we do, and we are improving. The analogy I'm using is, it's one thing for the student to be learning the material for the second time. It's another thing for the teacher to be teaching the material for the second time, right? So there's a compound effect of year 2. But I love what I see. And people, the outside is not in our building. They don't know our players. They're not observing what we've done since January. So it's a lot of fun. I think you almost trade a year of your life away when you take on one of these challenges. And so to kind of feel like, man, my chin's finally getting above the water here.
I get it.
You've got systems built. I think there's some sustainability and repeatability, a lot of adjustment and a lot of things to correct. But overall, I'm really excited.
As far as the SEC East goes, Georgia, obviously, I'm not breaking any news there. They're my pick to win the division. After that, I guess I'll go Tennessee, although I want to see how Joe Milton looks. I loved Joe Milton in high school when he committed to Michigan. Didn't work out in Michigan. People don't realize Milton was supposed to be the quarterback at Tennessee a couple of years ago before Hendon Hooker took over. Milton got hurt. Hendon Hooker came in, and the rest was history. Now it's finally Milton's opportunity, and the dude's got a cannon for an arm. I remember seeing him at an Under Armour camp when I was covering it for Gridiron. He has a cannon for an arm. So I'll go Tennessee 2. And then after that, I'd like to put Florida at 3. The problem is Florida goes to South Carolina and to Kentucky. Can Florida go on the road and beat both South Carolina and Kentucky? I don't know that. So the schedule alone, the fact that those games are on the road, leads me to believe Florida may not finish third in the SEC East. But clearly to me, Georgia is 1, Tennessee is 2, and then just jumble up South Carolina, Kentucky, and Florida, and we'll see what happens there. 641-1010 is the phone number on the phone line and on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. Jacksonville, we're with you till 8 o'clock tonight. We're glad you're with us. Back into the world of the National Football League. Brad Spielberger, Pro Football Focus, little PFF.com. The Jaguar rookies report to camp tomorrow. Let's talk Jaguars. Let's talk AFC South and more. Let's talk the analytics, the numbers with Brad Spielberger of PFF. He's next. Thursday night, Hacker After Dark, and Jacksonville. We're glad you're with us.
Making the middle of your day have something to say.
Yes, and finally it's paying off.
Joe Cowart, Matt Hayes, Mia O'Brien, and Leon Searcy.
What is this?
XL Prime Time.
What time is it?
Noon to 3 weekdays.
Where are we?
On 1010XL.
Get ready for the power of Godsmack live on their new world tour with special guests Atreyu and Flat Black, featuring Jason Hook, formerly of Five Finger Death Punch, coming to Daly's Place September 6th. Featuring songs from their new album, Lighting Up the Sky. Until Friday, July 21st, 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com. Godsmack Live.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you listen to one commercial today, listen to this one.
Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet are doing it again, recognizing the local heroes in our community with a brand new car. That's right, we'll be giving away a brand new car, cash, and free oil changes for life to our local heroes. Nominate a law enforcement officer, firefighter, EMT, nurse, teacher, veteran, or your local WOW hero. Head to localwowheroes.com to nominate and vote today. Let's wow our heroes.
Attention sports fans, we've got an exciting announcement for all you golf and football enthusiasts out there. At Fourscore Golf Tavern, we're taking the game day experience to a whole new level. Picture this, hitting the perfect drive on our state-of-the-art golf bays while catching every touchdown on our massive screens. That's right, we're combining the best of both worlds, golf and football, made even better with our elevated food and craft cocktails. Right here at Fourscore Golf Tavern in San Marcos Square.
Folks, it's finally here. The return of the Blue Crab Crab House. After a massive fire, they return and they're open Tuesday through Saturday, 4:30 to 10, Sunday noon to 9. As always, each and every Tuesday, $2 margaritas, $1 oysters on Wednesday. And as expected, the best crabs that you'll find throughout Jacksonville. Same ownership, same management. The Blue Crab Crab House off of San Jose on Jewington Creek Road.
'Tis the season to be cool. Florida Home AC wants to make sure you're not cooked like a Christmas goose this summer. Make sure your AC unit is ready for the heat, and if it's time to look at replacement, look for quality and value. You'll get that from Florida Home AC. And right now, take advantage of $1,750 off a brand new heating and AC unit. Log on to FloridaHomeAC.com for all the details and trust a company that will always keep you cool. Florida Home AC, the official AC partner of the Jaguars.
If you want to get into broadcasting, 1010XL is partnering with the Broadcasters and Sportscasters Mentoring Group to offer on-air broadcast training to a select few. Find out how you can be mentored at getintobroadcasting.com. Getintobroadcasting.com.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Hi, I'm Megan, your member services specialist with the Northeast Florida Safety Council. We've been keeping Florida businesses safe for over 80 years. We offer a variety of online and in-person safety classes. Our learning management system keeps track of all of your certifications and notifies you before they expire. Enjoy all the benefits and take the hassle out of safety compliance by becoming a member today. Visit nefsc.org. That's nefsc.org.
Hey folks, you know you want shark coatings, and the time is now. So close your eyes and let's imagine your garage. Wait, if you're driving, please don't close your eyes. Just wait till you get home. The rest of you see those cracks, the stains? It looks dark, dull, and dreary. It's nothing you're proud of. It's your house junk drawer. Now, see your floor with Shark Coatings. It's bright, it's durable, it's fresh. Since it's non-porous, it will be so much easier to clean. Don't imagine your garage, driveway, porch, or pool deck this way. Get with Shark Coatings and have a brand new space with new possibilities.
Hey Jacksonville, we need your help. It may be summer, but school is just around the corner. Hundreds of local homeless, at-risk, and low-income students need school supplies. One-to-One Financial, Jacksonville's hometown credit union, is collecting school supplies through July 30th, so our most vulnerable kids can start the school year right. Be a good person and help us fill 350 backpacks this summer. Bring donations to your nearest One-to-One Financial branch. Learn more and find the closest branch at one-to-one-fcu.org. And don't forget, the school supply tax holiday is the last week of July. Thanks, Jacksonville.
Business owners know Andy's Automotive and Truck Services for routine fleet maintenance or emergency repairs. Andy's offers after-hours and mobile service to minimize downtime and keep your fleet on the road. Visit andysats.com.
Time now for a medical recap. A health and wellness tip from Jaguars head team physician Dr. Kevin Kaplan.
Your musculoskeletal system carries the body, meaning that it maintains the structure against gravity. If you want your joints to stay healthy and seek the simplest solution, the best answer is to lose weight. Don't forget that the more weight you put onto your joints, the more pressure and stress there is on your hips and knees. This translates to more pain if you're already having issues. Losing weight is the quickest way to alleviate joint pain and boost your joint health. Go Jags.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars, protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line. This is Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The week has arrived. Training camps begin opening all over the National Football League. The Jaguar rookies, quarterbacks, first-year players come in on Friday. The rest of the team comes in on Tuesday the 25th, and they are on the field for the first practice of training camp on Wednesday, July the 26th. With that, Brad Spielberger, Pro Football Focus, certainly one of our favorites here on 1010XL. Let's talk Jaguars, AFC South, and more. Brad, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Brad, always appreciate the time. It was a busy weekend in the AFC South. Evan Ingram re-signs here in Jacksonville. Of course, DeAndre Hopkins to Tennessee. Let's begin locally. Ingram, a 3-year deal. A pretty good deal for Evan Ingram considering the tight end market, Brad. What did you make not only of the money he got, but now Ingram being in the fold here for the next 3 seasons?
Yeah, I think it's a solid deal for both parties, though I do think, we're talking a lot about the running back market, understandably so. But Ingram as well, and the tight end market has also been an uphill battle. There's just so much leverage in the team side here. And so, solid deal. You get obviously $25.5 million over the first 2 years, which is just above 2 franchise tags, which probably is why he ultimately signed the dotted line there. But also from the Jaguars' perspective, you basically give an extra $500,000 over 2 tags in those first 2 years. And then if you wanted to hypothetically get out of that deal in the 3rd year, you could. And so you're not really getting all that much more than just playing the year-to-year game. But I think it was smart for both teams to get this done. Came in last year on the 1-year flyer, showed that athleticism, showed why he was a first-round pick with New York. And I think it's just important to have more options in this offense. You obviously have Calvin Ridley coming in the fold, but Lawrence's ability to process the field, to check down to various different options at tight end, at running back, it's just going to add an element and a dimension to this offense that I think is important going forward.
Well, the thing, Brad, too, is, look, there's no Justin Jefferson or Tyreek Hill here or anybody along those lines, but I'm looking at this roster, and Ingram, Kirk, Jones, ETN, Ridley comes in. Not even to mention guys like Jamal Agnew, 2nd-round pick Brenton Strange, 3rd-round pick Tank Bigsby. I mean, if I'm a defensive coordinator and I'm trying to game plan for the Jaguars, who do you try to take away? They seem to have a lot of interchangeable guys.
Yeah, it's huge with different skill sets too, right? Guys that can win on the outside, guys that can win in the slot, guys that are quick separators versus guys that maybe you want to wait for things to develop downfield. And then also, especially if you're trying to be a true contender now, that depth to where if you do have a couple injuries throughout the season, you're not dropping off, a steep decline to the next player, but you have a solid player stepping up in the fold that can hold over a job for a month or whatever it is. And that's huge. Even in this division, it still is important to have the luxury of when you go to a depth piece, it's not a massive drop-off. It just takes Trevor, being a little bit more efficient and finding the open man. But yeah, no, they're a scary offense for opposing defenses this upcoming season.
Brad Spielberger of Pro Football Focus here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Brad, it's the first time in 4 years that Trevor's had the same head coach and the same offensive coordinator. Now in year 2 with Doug Peterson and Press Taylor, how valuable is that?
It's massive. It really, really is. I mean, you could almost write off his rookie season and say he started from scratch last year. And so all that carryover, all that continuity, not just, with the coaching staff, but also all those guys we just mentioned, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Engram. He didn't throw to any of those guys, until last offseason. So just all the continuity and the positivity around that building right now, a stark contrast to Urban Meyer days. And it does show up on the field. I know some of that stuff is cliche and maybe we overemphasize it sometimes, but I think in this scenario, especially with the offensive line issues and, suspensions and injuries and lost free agents, I think it's going to matter a lot. And I think it's important that they stuck by a lot of their guys.
You and I haven't talked since Cam Robinson. It was announced that it's a 4-game suspension. Maybe some good news for the Jaguars, Brad. We were thinking maybe 6 or even 8 games. It lands on 4. It makes an interesting problem. I don't know if it's a bad problem, but, Walker Little's going to start at left tackle, Anton Harrison, the rookie, at right tackle for the first 4 weeks. The big question here is, well, then what happens when the $17 million man, Cam Robinson, comes back off suspension? They could have an interesting dilemma on their hands at that point.
Yeah, they certainly could. But, I think, again, in my opinion, he'll probably jump back into the rotation. I like Anton Harrison coming out. I think he's going to be a plus pass protector in the NFL at a certain point. But he is a younger prospect. I think there were some analysts that thought maybe he should have stayed another season in Oklahoma. So, I think he slots back in. But, hey, maybe, one of those guys, including Walker Little, slides into to a guard spot. Or you have all this flexibility. And, again, injuries are a part of football, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, it's a good problem to have. And I think Jacksonville, my biggest takeaway for their offseason on both sides of the ball, a lot of it was just bolstering depth and just ensuring that no one injury could really sink this team. And I don't think it can.
Brad Spielberger of Pro Football Focus. Brad, do the Jaguars, in your opinion, have enough on defense to be one of the contenders in the AFC?
I think the one spot, now that I said that, I do think that they should look for a third edge rusher, a veteran guy that's still out there. If you want to go after a Justin Houston, who has connections to the staff, or, you spent time with Doug Peterson in Kansas City, or you want to just bring in a guy, a Melvin Ingram, that type of player that I think, look, Trayvon Walker is going to play better football. Josh Allen is a good football player. By all accounts, should be there and should be motivated in a contract year potentially. But I still do think adding another piece, you lose Arden Key, obviously in division. Dwayne Smoot coming off that torn Achilles in week 17. Maybe he does return, but you don't really know when you're going to get him back at full force. So, keep a couple interior guys around is always good with the extensions for Devon Hamilton and Roy Robertson Harris. But the one piece for me, more than slot corner, more than anything else people bring up, is getting that rotational edge rusher, maybe a guy that only plays, 400, 500 snaps, but gives, rest to the starters and can, get some juice off the edge in critical moments.
Yeah, I agree. Ngakoue, Ingram, Clowney, Houston are the 4 names that are still available there at that spot. Brad Spielberger of PFF. Brad, final Jaguar-related topic before I want to branch out into the AFC South. And this is for the future, but this is what you do at PFF. Boy, Trent Baalke, the Jaguars GM, apparently did a good job in the last year or so. The Jaguars are going to have a lot of guys up for contract extensions next offseason. And based on the books and how I'm reading it, the Jaguars are going to have some money next year. It was a pretty good job by Baalke, right, in restructuring the contracts that he did?
Yeah, I think it was interesting. Obviously, they spent a ton a couple off seasons ago, or I guess last off season, but didn't do that again, right? So realize, okay, we now need to win and contend with this nucleus of players. We've had all these recent early draft picks, obviously back-to-back number 1 overall, and Tyson Campbell and the guys that come, from picking 33rd overall and those things. So I think it was smart to be a little bit more conservative this offseason, even if you could nitpick or wanted them to do a little bit more, because I think now in your mind you're saying, okay, this money now is earmarked for if Calvin Ridley explodes, you got to pay him. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence could get $55-60 million a year next offseason if he plays like he did the second half of last year. So I think Balky put them in a good position. They've also, some of the early extensions they have done, like a Roy Robertson Harris, like a Devon Hamilton. You're getting out ahead of, pay these guys early, lock in a good rate, and then if they play very well, you have this surplus value off that contract. I think all those things are working in their favor to actually have a sustained, successful team and not a flash in the pan just on Lawrence's rookie deal.
Brad, the thought the entire offseason is the AFC South is the Jaguars division, and then DeAndre Hopkins goes to Tennessee over the weekend. Does that move the needle for you at all when it comes to the South?
Not really. I mean, obviously, it was the biggest thing they could do, outside of a trade or anything like that. The biggest move they could make to try to close that gap a little bit. But, Hopkins I still think is a legit receiver. Maybe not number one, but a high end number two, low end number one type guy. He was still a target hog last year. He was third in targets in the weeks that he played, and most of that from Colt McCoy. In a depressing Arizona Cardinals team at that time. So. But for me, that team, the offensive line still might be the worst offensive line in football. Their secondary still has major question marks. Ryan Tannehill, I think maybe the narrative is a little bit too far. I think he's above average, maybe a good quarterback, but not a great player. I just still think it is Jacksonville's division to lose. But, hey, man, Mike Vrabel is always going to give you his best. Even in last year, Week 18, they obviously could have lost that game if a couple plays swing another direction. But I still think Jacksonville should be the heavy favorite here.
A couple of more for Brad Spielberger of Pro Football Focus. Brad, I've had two national guys on over the last week, one of which said Indianapolis is the worst team in the AFC. The other one said Indianapolis is going to win the AFC South. So obviously there are huge disparity issues on what people think of Indianapolis. What does Brad Spielberger think of Indianapolis?
I think they deserve that wide range. I think they have one of the more wider range of outcomes of any team in the NFL, because the weird thing with them, in my opinion, is like you look at last year and where they struggled, and they have good football players at the places they struggle. They just need to bounce back. And of course, there's no guarantee that happens, but down year for Quentin Nelson, down year for Ryan Kelly, down year for Braden Smith, and that offensive line used to be one of the best in the NFL. So can they bounce back? Can they play better football? If they do, it obviously helps a ton. They were dead last in EPA per dropback last year, so the worst passing team in the NFL. I think a rookie Anthony Richardson is going to struggle, but he's also, the only way to go is up. And then on defense, too, kind of a down year for Grover Stewart. Their secondary became a bit of a mess as well. And then you need growth from these young players like a Kwity Paye, a bunch of guys in that defense. So not a great answer. I'm kind of all over the place. But basically my thought is I could see them win 9-10 games. I could see them win 3-4 games. I really think that the range of outcomes is as wide as any team in the NFL.
The thought is Houston is still a year or two away, although the arrow is probably pointing up on them. Do you agree with that, or do you think they could potentially compete this year?
I don't think they can compete, but I do think they can be like a legit team and give opponents some tough games. And the defense, I think, quietly, if the secondary and Derek Stingley in particular plays up to his potential, they very quietly have one of the better secondaries on paper in the NFL, more from a depth standpoint and just versatility. You bring in Jimmy Ward, you have all these guys in the fold, Desmond King and Steven Nelson, and so you have Jalen Petrie, so you have young guys and old guys that can do a lot of good things in the back end. It's going to come down to, Sheldon Rankins comes in free agency. How good is Will Anderson going to be as a rookie? So I think it really comes down to DeMeco Ryans and can he make that defense, competitive? They're not going to be great, but can they keep them in football games and then give CJ Stroud the ability to, he's not forcing throws. He doesn't have to throw their way into every game. But yeah, no, contending or competing, I don't see. But hey, winning 7 games would be a good outcome for them next year.
Final moments, Brad Spielberger, Pro Football Focus.com, PFF.com. All right, Brad, in the AFC, is it Kansas City, Cincinnati, and everybody else?
I think you could probably still lump Buffalo into that conversation. Obviously, an uninspiring loss last year to Cincinnati, but on paper, the talent is up there. I think they are a little more fragile, where I do think for them, some injuries to either side of the line would be problematic, and maybe those other teams can overcome it a little bit with depth. But yeah, I think those three, but I'll tell you, man, the Jets are good. Miami's good. There are so many good football teams. The Cleveland Browns on paper, Baltimore Ravens are good. That conference is just a nightmare right now.
The disparity is crazy between the AFC and the NFC, because on the NFC, on paper, Brad, it looks like Philadelphia and everybody else. Is that the way you see it?
Philadelphia, and then I think there's a tier right below with Dallas and San Fran. And then otherwise, I think you could list 10 AFC teams that I probably have more confidence in than the fourth best NFC team.
Boy, you've covered the league for a while. Can you remember a difference like that between the two conferences when it comes to quarterback play?
I really can't. I don't think we're talking about it enough. Like, and the few remaining strongholds, like Aaron Rodgers goes over to the AFC. Like, it is so stark the contrast between the two conferences right now. I did a podcast earlier today and listed my top 10 quarterbacks, and I think I had Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott were the only guys in the NFC on the entire list. Like, it's pretty crazy where we're at right now.
There's no doubt about it, and the Jaguars see a lot of them with Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar Jackson all coming to Jacksonville this season. Brad, leave us with this, PFF.com. It is getting cooking for you guys as the training camps open. What can the good folks here in Jacksonville expect over there at Pro Football Focus?
Yeah, so I'm actually writing up a review of the franchise tag deadline right now. So we talked about Evan Engram and some of the ins and outs of his contract. And then, we're about, 10 days away from training camp. We'll be covering every single storyline, getting ready for fantasy football and all those things. So we're all over it over at PFF.com.
Brad Spielberger, one of our guys. Everybody knows I love PFF and certainly always enjoy Brad taking time out. Brad, thank you, man. We'll do it again soon.
Sounds great. Thank you.
It's hard to explain, but play-by-play just sounds better on the radio.
What a turn of events!
1010XL, Jacksonville's home for play-by-play.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation, light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
E.T. here for Brackish Vodka. This Jacksonville-produced and distilled gluten-free corn-based vodka is the smoothest vodka you'll ever have. And because it's mineral salt filtered after being distilled 5 times, you get the smoothest vodka on the market. And it's made right here in Jacksonville. Brackish Vodka won the silver medal at the Spirits competition this year. But you need to try Brackish Vodka to believe it yourself. The smoothest vodka you'll ever have. Drink like a local. Drink Brackish Vodka. Come on, somebody.
Wondering what you're going to do for dinner tonight? Southern Steer Butcher is a full-service butcher that offers take-and-bake side options that are oven-ready.
Now open in Ortega. For tasty tips and juicy breasts, choose Southern Steer Butcher.
Run to the Jacksonville Sharks for their fight against West Texas this Saturday, July 22nd, 7 o'clock, VyStar Arena. With tickets as low as $15, you can't find this kind of affordable fun just anywhere. It's Military Appreciation Night. Stay postgame for the auction and win a military Sharks jersey. All veterans and their families. Buy one ticket, get one free. Shark Tank this Saturday, July 22nd, 7 o'clock at the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena. Call 904-621-0700 or visit jacksharks.com. And veterans, BOGO tickets. Fins up.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On July 20th, 1986, British Open men's golf, Greg Norman wins his first major championship at even par, 5 strokes clear of Gordon J. Brand.
Hun, the drain really smells.
Yeah, wow, it does.
I think it's getting backed up. What should we do? Did you just quack like a duck?
Yes, I did. Duck Duck Rooter, your plumbing pros in Northeast Florida. Need help with a plumbing issue at your home or business? Just call the Duck.
When you're stuck, call the Duck. 904-862-6769.
Who holds the record for the most consecutive field goals made in the NBA? The answer next.
Having the right homeowner's policy protection means you're staying on top of your most valuable possession, your home. For information on finding an agent, go to southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours, Southern Oak Insurance.
Over a 4-game stretch in 1967, Wilt Chamberlain made 35 consecutive field goals.
Southern Oak Insurance, our family protecting yours.
This is Hayes Carline for QC Kinetics. It's time to take control. Don't give in to that constant joint pain. Take back your quality of life today with QC Kinetics. Call them today at 904-274-5522 to set up an appointment at their Mandarin or Ponte Vedra locations. Take control with QC Kinetics. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime, no more pain in your knees, hips, shoulders, or back. QC Kinetics takes your body's own healing agents and concentrates them in the area where you have pain. You can repair and restore damaged tissue naturally through regenerative medicine. The summer is here. You need to be out there having fun, making memories, golfing, walks on the beach, enjoying your life. Take control now and start living pain-free. No surgery, no downtime. QC Kinetics has locations in Mandarin and Ponte Vedra. Call them today at 274-5522. That's 274-5522.
Major League Baseball is always on at Perfect Rag Billiards in Murray Hill. Whether you're a Ray, Cub, or even Yankee, Perfect Rag Billiards always has all the games live. Tons of awesome beer and food specials for the weekend, from Fireball Fridays, Seltzer Saturdays, and brunch on Sundays. That along with tons of pool tables, shuffleboards, darts, and more. Get on out of the house for the action and come to Perfect Rag Billiards in Murray Hill, where you can catch all the MLB action. Perfect Rag Billiards in Murray Hill, a great place to watch sports.
Cataracts can take a toll on the quality of a loved one's life. Maybe it's even your parents or someone close to you. Hey, Hicken here. I've been talking to you about Bowden Eye. And it turns out renowned cataract care is right here at Bowden Eye & Associates. Their doctors help those with cataracts feel hopeful, sometimes for the first time in a long time. If someone you love is suffering from cataracts, schedule a visit for a personal consultation. 3 locations to serve you, including the new office on County Road 210 in St. Johns County.
Flickering lights and hot switches can be annoying. They can also signal a major problem or electrical emergency. So leave it to the pros and Mr. Sparky.
888-8-Sparky.
Your on-time electrician, Mr. Sparky of the First Coast.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Tampa Bay Rays lead the Baltimore Orioles 1-0. Bottom of the third in Tampa, or I guess St. Pete. They're tied at the top of the AL East. 4-game series in Tampa beginning tonight. Rays up 1-0 on Baltimore. Coming up in just a bit, we'll go to Indianapolis. James Boyd, he covers the Colts for The Athletic. That is our 32nd and final team preview as we will take a look at Anthony Richardson and the Indianapolis Colts. Press Taylor, the Jaguar offensive coordinator, was on the Peter Schrager podcast earlier this week, and he was asked about Jaguar quarterback Trevor Lawrence and what makes Trevor Lawrence special.
That's the biggest. Honestly, we played golf with a couple buddies 2 or 3 days ago, and I had a buddy that's a Jags friend that didn't know him or anything like that. And we get off, he's like, "Is he always like that? Just chill?" I said, "Yeah. You know, I've never really seen him lose his cool or anything like that. I've seen him get intense and a little more competitive, but he's pretty much just always the same guy, even keeled." And I think just the authenticity that he carries himself with, guys appreciate that. He is humble, but he's accountable. You know, if something goes wrong, he's the first to say that's on me. If whether it's him or not, he's the quarterback. He's going to stand there. He's going to take the arrows for his guys. And I think guys see that and guys respond to that. I mean, when you know what you're getting out of a guy, you know he's got your back. You know, you're willing to fight a little extra for him. And I think that's our players saw that from the jump because we brought in a lot of new guys that, you know, didn't know much about him other than the hype and struggles his rookie year. But you know, he quickly earned everybody's trust and the way he prepares and the way he plays and the way he treats people.
Jaguar offensive coordinator Press Taylor earlier this week on the Peter Schrager podcast. The Jaguar rookies, first-year players, and I believe the quarterbacks report to training camp tomorrow. We're going down, you know, basically position by position over the next couple of Hacker After Darks. We did the quarterbacks and the running backs last night. Quickly, tonight, the wide receivers and the tight ends. Look, wide receiver, it's pretty simple, right? There's not a lot of rocket science here. Your top 3, in whatever order you want to put them in, are Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, and Calvin Ridley, okay? So after Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, and Calvin Ridley, then what does it look like? Well, I would think Jamal Agnew is number 4. He is maybe the new Marvin Jones, if you will, in that department. So Jamal Agnew, I think, will be in the mix. Then the question is, how many do you keep? And if you want to go 5 deep, you got a guy like Tim Jones, who made the roster last year. You got a guy like Kevin Austin, who's been around here for a year or two now. I know they like Jaray Jenkins from LSU, undrafted wide receiver, undrafted free agent. Parker Washington will clearly be in the mix, the 6th-round pick out of Penn State. He's probably number 5. So if you go Jones, Kirk, Ridley, whatever order you want to put them in, Agnew, Parker Washington, then do you keep 6 or do you keep 7? And again, a lot of these guys potentially will make the practice squad, but is that 6th spot Seth Williams versus Tim Jones? Is it Seth Williams versus Tim Jones versus Kevin Austin? Is Jaray Jenkins in the mix there? There's a lot of questions about the wide receiver position heading into camp, particularly at the bottom of the wide receiver depth chart. Tight end, really the same thing, right? Evan Ingram's your guy. He's your tight end 1. I would think Brenton Strange, your 2nd-round pick, is your tight end 2. Luke Farrell, year 3 for Luke Farrell here in Jacksonville. I would think he's going to be on the roster. And I know they really like Garrett Prince. Remember, a lot of guys like Garrett Prince, he made noise last year in training camp, and then you kind of forget about him once the season starts. Tim Jones, kind of the same thing. We talked about him a lot when they were making noise in camp in the preseason. Then the season starts. Unfortunately, you kind of forget about him a little bit. But now they're back in the news because they're guys that, again, look like they're going to be in good shape to make the roster. So if you go Evan Ingram, if you go Brenton Strange, if you go Luke Farrell, Garrett Prince, is it that easy at tight end? I'll tell you right now, Sammy Reyes, number 19, when you go to training camp next week, I don't know if this guy can play a lick of football, and I don't know if he's going to make the roster. But I'll tell you right now, if I'm in a battle royal and I get to have a tag team partner and I get to pick any Jacksonville Jaguar to go to battle with, I might be taking Sammy Reyes. 6'5", 260 pounds, and the dude is a chiseled monster. You're talking dirty to me, and I kind of like it. No question about it. Sammy Reyes is a beast, and I am very interested to see when the pads go on to see what he potentially can offer. So certainly questions towards the bottom part of the tight end and wide receiver depth chart, although at the top of those depth charts, very little question. You certainly know who those guys are and which ones are certainly going to contribute here in 2023. To Indianapolis we go to round out our AFC South preview. What about Anthony Richardson? What about Gardner Minshew? Are the Colts going to win the AFC South, or are they the worst team in the AFC? I've had people tell me both in the last week. Let's go to Indy and find out. James Boyd, our guy up in Indy, covers the Colts for The Athletic. He is next. Hacker After Dark, in for Blue on a Thursday night here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
You know what we're talking about. You played the game.
I think you did when you should have zagged on that face.
1010XL, Jacksonville Sports Radio.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwoods. How would you describe the typical engagement ring customer that comes in your store?
Frank, at Underwoods, we often see customers who've shopped around and are totally confused about how to select a diamond. Now, they're looking for somebody qualified who'll tell them the truth and they can trust. They've heard about certification on diamonds, wholesale diamonds, internet diamonds, deals that a friend of a friend can get them, and the prices will range from unbelievably low to unbelievably high. One of the reasons for the confusion is if you look at the factors of grading a diamond after you know the carat weight, there are 11 grades for cut, 21 grades for color, 11 grades for clarity, so you got 2,541 different possibilities, each with a different price. That's where Underwoods helps straighten out the confusion, because we have the American Gem Society credentialed professionals that'll guide a customer the right diamond for them, one she'll be happy with for the rest of her life.
Underwoods, where customers are served with quality and respect. In San Marco, Avondale, and the shops of Ponte Vedra.
Fed up with settling for mediocre pet food? Go to Paul Lick & Good, your one-stop shop for affordable, high-quality raw pet food. Their Prey Model blend mimics the way your dog's ancestors consume their meals. It strengthens the immune system and bone health and gives a shinier coat. Made from all-natural USDA-inspected human-grade meats. No fillers, no artificial additives. Check out all the 5-star Google reviews off Lane Avenue near Lenox. Call 625-8600. That's 625-8600. Or visit PaulLickandGoodRaw.com.
Frank Frangie here. These days, it's hard to know which companies to trust. When it comes to banking, I trust South State Bank. South State truly values its customers, and they work hard to create meaningful, lasting relationships. I love going into my local branch. I see the same smiling faces I've seen for years. South State is the largest bank headquartered in Florida, so they're able to offer all the banking services you need. You can trust South State Bank. Banking forward. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
The First Coast has voted. Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute is proud to be chosen as Bold City's best in the orthopedic practice and physical therapy and rehab centers categories once again. For the last 29 years, JOI has continually strived for the highest level of orthopedic surgery and rehab care. As the needs of the community evolve, so will they. That's why coaches, parents, and athletes choose JOI. Call them at JOI 2000 or visit JOI.net. JOI, where the pros go.
Hey, it's Tony from Tony D's Pizza. If you love our pizza and pasta dishes, let us cater an event for you. Family function or office parties, we can deliver you an amazing Italian meal. Remember, it's not just pizza at Tony D's. Baymettos and $2.95.
The moves.
This man right here does whatever it takes.
The rumors and speculation.
There's something good going on around here.
Follow the off-season with Tire Outlet and 1010XL.
Why can't it be us?
Tire Outlet. Wholesale prices, premium service.
Hey everybody, Mike Dempsey here for Pella Windows and Doors. These intense summer storms are a good reminder to visit the Pella showroom on Phillips Highway. Check out Pella's new Hurricane Shield and Defender series. These amazing windows exceed all coastal requirements for storm protection. Seriously, they can withstand the impact of a 2x4 shot out of a cannon at 50 feet per second. You want quality, style, and protection? Visit PellaJacks.com and the showroom on Phillips Highway right next to Tesla. That's Pella Windows and Doors.
It's time to shine a spotlight on your colleagues or company's exceptional achievements. Throughout the year, Jacksonville Business Journal hosts awards to honor the individuals or companies innovating, inspiring, and changing industries. They're looking for the fastest growing companies, your ultimate CEO, a woman of influence, rising stars, tech leaders, 40 under 40, and best places to work. Learn more about the criteria and deadlines at jbjevents.com.
In this moment, Ice Nine Kills, Kiss of Death Tour, special guest Avatar and New Year's Day. Friday, November 17th, Daly's Place. Tickets on sale Friday at Ticketmaster.com. In this moment, Ice Nine Kills. Live in concert.
At Andy's Automotive and Truck Services, they know that your company's fleet is more than just a bunch of cars and trucks. It's your livelihood, your reputation, your pride. So when you need routine fleet maintenance or emergency repairs, Andy's offers after-hours and mobile service to minimize your downtime and keep your fleet running like new. While you care for your employees and customers, rest assured Andy's Automotive will take care of your fleet. Visit the team at andysats.com.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. For lost or broken keys or nearly any make and model of vehicle, call 722-1111 for Instant Keys Locksmith Service.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars, protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line. It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us as our AFC South preview continues. We have gone to every division over the last 2 months in the National Football League. We ended in the AFC South with training camp on the doorstep. The Jaguars report to camp, at least the first batch of players report on Friday. We've already been to Nashville. We will go to Houston. Right now, it's all about the Indianapolis Colts. Anthony Richardson, Gardner Minshew. Of course, the Colts will see the Jaguars twice in the first 6 weeks. With that, our guy up in Indianapolis is James Boyd. He covers the Colts for The Athletic, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. James, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Excited for camp, excited for the season. It feels like football, it smells like football, so I'm ready for it.
You know, James, it's interesting, man. I got a lot of branches I want to go off here with the Colts offseason and get your thoughts, but I'll start by telling you this. I've had two national guys covering the league on a national basis in the last week. One of them had Indianapolis winning the AFC South in 2023. The other said the Colts were the worst team in the AFC. There is that much of a differing of opinion about this Indianapolis team in the last week here on this radio program. What's your thought as a guy that covers the team every day on Indianapolis in totality coming into this year?
My thought is that they're going to be a work in progress and certainly a team that is going through some changes. I would lean more towards Jacksonville being the division favorite and the division champion. And so I just don't see a team getting a new coach, a new quarterback, having to implement so many different things, immediately hitting the ground running and winning the division. I think that did happen. Either Anthony Richardson is having a great season or Gardner Minshew got hot and just stayed as the starter. So my expectations is that at some point Anthony Richardson will start for this team. He'll have his ups and downs. And with that, the team will have its ups and downs, and you can look at them being, I think, somewhere within that 5 to 7 win range.
The Jaguars go up there week 1, September 10th. In your opinion, James, will it be Gardner Minshew or Anthony Richardson?
I think it will be Anthony Richardson starting week 1. Again, this is not having seen any training camp, so maybe my answer will change in a few weeks, but I just think that unless the gap is an ocean between the two players, I would expect Richardson to make, some considerable progress throughout the offseason to where they feel comfortable enough to put him out there. I will say that he will not be a better quarterback than Gardner Minshew in a few months, but I do think that he can gain some ground as far as being an NFL caliber quarterback and being, again, trusted enough to go out there and at least be competent. And then they live with the ups and downs and hope that by season's end they have a guy that they believe in.
James Boyd of The Athletic covering the Indianapolis Colts. James, you've seen Anthony Richardson, rookie minicamp, OTAs, veteran minicamp. How has AR looked up there to this point?
He looks like you'd expect, very up and down. Throughout rookie minicamp, OTAs, veteran minicamp, he would have the best throw of the day, but often he would not have the best day overall. It was just because we know his arm talent, but we also know that he has issues with getting the ball in certain places. There'd be some throws where you're like, wow, that's the reason why they drafted number 4 overall. And then there's other throws he'll make and you're like, wow, they really drafted number 4 overall. So, I think that the biggest key for him to getting more snaps, more reps, and eventually that starting role will just be consistently. It seems like when he does miss, he misses high. So he'll have to work on his mechanics, his lower body, and things like that. But I'm excited to see what he's working on throughout this lull over the summer, but obviously what he's also going to be improving on throughout camp.
It wasn't long ago that Gardner Minshew was the most popular person in Jacksonville, Florida, although it seems like a long time ago now with Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson here. How has Gardner looked? How has he gone into the role of mentoring Anthony Richardson? How is their relationship?
I think the relationship is actually great. There was one time throughout veteran minicamp where three of the quarterbacks, the two that you mentioned and Sam Ehlinger, they went through this drill where they had to throw the ball into the net. And after Anthony Richardson went third and drilled it, all of them did it correctly. And Gardner Minshew was raising his hands in the air and screaming and being the best teammate you could ask for, honestly. And so I think the relationship is great. I don't know how many backup or quarterbacks who are competing for the starting spot would be that gung-ho about another guy doing well on the drill. But I think that he's embracing that mentorship role without giving Anthony anything. He said it himself. He said, I think I make myself better by going out there and playing my best, but I think I make him better by pushing him to be better as well. So I think they have a good relationship. I think Gardner's been a better quarterback to this point, but it hasn't been a huge gap in between the two. And part of that is because the wide receiver room and the tight end room was so banged up during veteran minicamp. You really couldn't even tell, okay, they're both having rough days. But will this change when guys like Michael Pittman Jr., Alec Pierce, Lonnie Woods, guys who had injuries, if they're healthy during camp, will it look different, when they're out there?
James Boyd of The Athletic covering the Indianapolis Colts as our AFC South preview continues. You mentioned the skill position guys, James. On paper, Well, they got some talent, right? Obviously, Jonathan Taylor hoping to rebound from last year. The offensive line, same thing, hoping to rebound from last year. Michael Pittman Jr., Alec Pierce, he beat the Jaguars last year on that deep ball from Matt Ryan. What about the skill position? Is there enough talent there to help those quarterbacks thrive?
I think there is. I think the biggest thing is they'll be able to push the ball down the field more this year, regardless of who is the quarterback. Matt Ryan, to his credit, played, I think, about as well as he could, given his age and arm, and the line he was playing behind. Now, there was some throws I'm sure he'd wish he'd have back and some fumbling issues, but I think he just really couldn't throw the ball downfield. And so that in and of itself should make the offense a little bit more potent this year. And then when you look at the guys that Anthony Richardson or Gardner Minshew will be throwing to, I think the biggest one who could be an X factor is Josh Downs, the wide receiver they drafted in the 3rd round. A little undersized for his position, but he's a really good, route runner, change of pace, kind of like a water bug type of receiver that they haven't had. He gives them a different flavor to the room, and I think that he could be like that 3rd down chain mover and someone who could be sort of a security blanket for Anthony Richardson. So I think that he could be a really good factor. And then if Alec Pierce can become more than just a deep threat, then I think they have a better, well-rounded offense all around. So we'll see how it goes. And obviously, JT bouncing back will be huge.
Yeah, I like Josh Downs a lot at North Carolina. I like that pick there by the Indianapolis Colts. You mentioned Jonathan Taylor. How has he looked? Is he healthy? What's your thought on him heading into the year?
Don't know how he looks. He hasn't played. He'll be still recovering from ankle surgery that he had in January. He did not give us a timeline for his return. I would expect for him to be out there to start training camp because he hasn't, he's been around, walking around, and it didn't seem like it was, as big of an injury. Like, for example, it was like Shaquille Leonard, who still, we have no idea what his back looks like and how he'll be moving. But we just have to wait and see with JT. But the expectation, I think, around the team and around him is a lot more positive than it is for Shaq Leonard, who was sort of a mystery.
And you bring up Shaq Leonard as we go to the defensive side of the ball. Again, a lot of name value, right? DeForest Buckner, Shaq Leonard, Kwity Paye. I mean, they got some players. Stephon Gilmore no longer there as he was released earlier this offseason. But the defense as a whole, James, how do you assess them coming into the year?
Yeah, so Gilmore was actually traded to the Cowboys, I believe in March. And so he's out of there. He was a big factor in what they did last year. He had 3 pass breakups to win games, only won 4 games last year. So he was a huge part of that. And so obviously without him, their cornerback room gets a lot less experience, a lot more, new. And then also with the suspension of Isaiah Rodgers and him being cut after that, they're really, really young in their secondary. So I expect some growing pains there if they don't bring in a veteran cornerback. And then as far as the other position groups go, I think their defensive line is okay. The interior defensive line is pretty good. The outside with Kwity Paye and Dio, you expect them to step up going into, I believe, their 3rd seasons. And so you would hope that they can turn a corner and show that they're guys who deserve second contracts with the Colts. And then with Shaq, he's just the biggest mystery. I think that this defense is going to take a step back because you can rely on DeForest Buckner. You can rely on Grover Stewart. You can rely on these guys being really good. But can you rely on Shaq Leonard to be the maniac, to force turnovers, to be one of the most dominant linebackers in the NFL? And you just don't know what you're getting from him. And so I think this is a really big prove-it year for him. And you expect him to hopefully bounce back and be someone who can show why he was given close to $100 million in guaranteed money. I mean, not guaranteed money, but contract money.
James Boyd of The Athletic. As we start making the turn for home, not to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like it's going to be a lot of wait and see with this team this year, James, and see how Anthony Richardson develops, certainly. Is the fan base going to be okay with that? I mean, they're used to winning in Indianapolis. Obviously, that did not happen last year. If it doesn't happen this year, Steichen in his first year won't be in any danger, but is the fan base going to be okay with a rebuild of sorts?
I think they should be. I think that they were just happy to finally get a quarterback, a young quarterback, a homegrown quarterback, because for years they were kind of kicking that can down the road and believing they were one quarterback away from making a playoff run or a potential Super Bowl run. So now it feels like everyone has had a taste of reality after last season. You hire a new coach, you hire a new quarterback, or actually draft a new quarterback, and you feel like you're entering a new era. And with that will come some growing pains. So I don't think the fans will be upset if the wins don't come. I think they'll be more upset if they don't see just tangible progress from Anthony Richardson, because anybody who's being realistic knows this is probably a 2 to 3 year experiment where you're just waiting to see if he can be the guy. And if he is, great, then you have your guy. If not, then you have to kind of go back to the drawing board.
You know, the thought around the division is Jacksonville, maybe Tennessee now with Hopkins. I actually want to ask you about that in a moment. But then Indy and Houston are linked because of first-year head coaches and rookie quarterbacks. Is that how you look at it as well? Does Indy need to show that they're at least better off than Houston because both teams are in very similar spots?
I think so. I think Houston is the worst team overall. Obviously, they picked higher and things like that. But I just think that on paper, the Colts have some pretty talented guys and enough talent to at least be competitive and in a decent amount of games. And they don't have a super hard schedule. So if they come out and win 5, 6, 7 games, I don't think anybody's going to be complaining. If they come out and have like a 2 to 3 win season, I think that would be a really big drawback or pushback, or something that you kind of question the direction of the team. So that's kind of how I feel about it.
You know, I'm curious, a guy like you that covers this division every day there in Indianapolis, Jacksonville, Tennessee, now DeAndre Hopkins in the mix. How do you see the top of the South right now?
I think the top of the South will belong in Jacksonville as long as Trevor Lawrence is still Trevor Lawrence. I think he's the best quarterback in the division, and usually the best quarterback leads you to having the best team. And then I don't know, the back three or the bottom tier 3 teams, I think can kind of duke it out and end up any space. And so I'm looking at where Houston is, where the Colts are, where Tennessee is. They're better, I think, with the addition of DeAndre Hopkins. But again, he can't throw to himself. You just wonder if it'll work with Ryan Tannehill or whoever they put in at quarterback, and if they have enough to be competitive. And for whatever reason, the Titans have had the Colts' number, and will that continue and things like that. So I'm excited to see what happens, what kind of shakes loose. But if you're asking me who's going to be, running the division, I think it's going to be the Jaguars, because I just trust Trevor Lawrence. I think that leap they made last year is more of a trend rather than just a flash in the pan.
James, final question. You got one of our guys up there in Indianapolis, Will Mallory, went to high school about 10 minutes or so from where I'm talking to you, had a pretty good career down at Miami. How has Will Mallory looked this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, the way that Mallory has looked has been sort of a mystery, because you haven't seen him this offseason. He had a foot injury, actually, that kept him out, I believe, for most, if not all, of rookie minicamp. And then the same thing with OTAs and veteran minicamp. He was not out there. He was not available. And so, again, when I go back to the quarterbacks and how you evaluate them, it was kind of hard because they're not throwing to guys they normally would be. And I would assume that he's one of those guys who would contend for a spot on that 53-man roster. So as soon as we get an update, I'll let you know. But I'm just rooting for him and all the guys to get healthy, because as you know, in football, this is as healthy as it's going to be going into the season, and then let the chips fall where they may because of your play on the field rather than your ability to not be out there.
James Boyd of The Athletic covering the Indianapolis Colts. James, we will talk again in about 8 weeks, and the next time you and I talk, it will be game week. The Jaguars travel to Indy week 1 to kick off the 2023 season. Have a good couple of weeks, my friend. We'll do it again soon.
Thanks, man. The same to you.
And thank you to my friend James Boyd of The Athletic covering the Indianapolis Colts. It's going to be a very interesting scenario up there in Indianapolis. Keep in mind the Jaguars see them twice in the first 6 weeks, including on opening day in Indy on Sunday, September 10th. Indy's got some talent, man. There is absolutely no question about it. From Jonathan Taylor to Michael Pittman Jr., Alec Pierce, Mo Alley Cox. I mean, they got some dudes, right? Quentin Nelson on the offensive line. You talk about DeForest Buckner, Shaq Leonard on the defense. The question is, do they have a quarterback? Gardner Minshew is up there. Of course, Anthony Richardson is up there, and we've talked about it all offseason. Only 13 career starts at Florida for Anthony Richardson. If you combine high school and college combined, we're talking about a guy that has thrown the football in a live football game less than 900 times, dating back to his high school career and his college career. So it'll be good to see him early if you're the Jaguars, because I get the feeling that Anthony Richardson will get a lot better in, say, November, December than he might look early on in September and October. And that does it, by the way, for our division previews. We started back, I believe, right around the 22nd of May in the AFC East. Our first one was Sal Capaccio, WGR Radio in Buffalo. We went through the AFC East, the NFC East, the AFC North, the NFC North, the AFC West, the NFC West, last week the NFC South, and we end it tonight with both Houston and Indy. Over the last 2 months, 32 teams, 32 NFL markets, as we have previewed them all, leading up to training camp, which, by the way, the Jaguar rookies report tomorrow here to training camp. Well, that'll do it as well for a Thursday night edition of Hacker After Dark. We were in for Baloo tonight. We are going to be in for Baloo tomorrow as well, as he is enjoying a little vacation before the craziness begins. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. We have a lot of people to thank. Again, James Boyd of The Athletic, covering the Indianapolis Colts. Thank you to my friend Brad Spielberger, Pro Football Focus. You guys know I love PFF and PFF.com, so certainly appreciate Brad taking time out tonight to talk Jaguars, AFC South, and more. And how about former Jaguar and Texan wide receiver Cecil Shorts joining us in hour number 1. Cecil's a guy you're going to hear a lot more of here on Hacker After Dark once football season begins in early September. We will tell you more about that later on, but Cecil Shorts will certainly be a name and a voice that'll be a regular here on Hacker After Dark in a very short amount of time. Thank you to Cecil tonight for coming on, talking Texans and Jaguars with us. We will be back tomorrow night on a Friday to close out the week, and we will do it all over again beginning at 6 o'clock. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the hacker, Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Thursday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolutely terrific remainder of your Thursday evening, and we will do it all over again tomorrow night on a Friday beginning at 6 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.